Mandla Raziba built his fashion export empire with strict rules and sharp focus. He believed success only came from control, and anyone who failed to meet his standards was quickly removed. In his company, fear kept people alert, and silence followed him wherever he walked. Employees admired his achievements but never felt close to him. To Mandla, emotions were weakness, and kindness had no place in business. Late each night, after the offices emptied, a woman named Sithembel Nkora quietly moved through the building. She scrubbed floors, wiped glass walls, and collected trash without anyone learning her name. People passed her during the day as if she were part of the furniture. No one asked about her life, her dreams, or the tired look in her eyes. She worked carefully, knowing one mistake could cost her the little income she depended on. One important morning, as Mandla prepared for a crucial meeting with powerful partners from abroad, disaster struck. His expensive outfit, made specially for him, tore in a visible place. Panic spread fast. Staff rushed around, calling tailors, arguing loudly and blaming each other. Time slipped away and nothing worked. The damage seemed impossible to hide. In the middle of the chaos, Sithembel gently spoke up. She said she might be able to help. Laughter followed her words. Some workers waved her away. Others looked offended that a cleaner would even suggest such a thing. But with no better option left, Mandla allowed her a chance, though he doubted her deeply. She worked quietly, her hands steady, using a small tool she always carried. The room fell silent as she focused. When she finished, the fabric looked untouched, stronger than before. Mandla noticed something unusual in the way it was fixed, a technique he remembered from his early days in the industry. Pressed for answers, Sithembel finally shared her past. Long ago, she had skill, talent, and a future in clothing design, until hardship pushed her into survival mode. The meeting later that day was a success. Guests admired the fine work Mandla wore, unaware of its true story. That evening, Mandla stood before his staff and did something no one expected. He spoke Sithembel's name with respect and changed her position in front of everyone, proving that true value can hide in plain sight. Quiet maid Sithembel Nkora worked when the building was asleep. Every night, she moved through the highest offices with a mop and cloth, leaving the place shining without anyone noticing her effort. People in the company knew the floors were always clean, but no one ever asked who did the work. She kept her head down, spoke little, and accepted being unseen because she needed the job to survive. The company belonged to a powerful man who ruled his business with strict control. Everyone feared disappointing him. Mistakes were not forgiven, and pressure filled the air wherever he went. On one important day, this man was preparing to meet wealthy partners who could change the future of the business. Everything had to be perfect, especially his appearance. Just moments before the meeting, something went wrong. The expensive clothing he planned to wear was suddenly damaged in a way that could not be hidden easily. The office exploded with worry. Assistants rushed around, phones rang nonstop, and tempers flared. Designers were called, but no one arrived in time. With every passing minute, panic grew stronger. As the room filled with noise, Sithembel stood nearby, holding her cleaning tools. She watched calmly, then quietly said she could help. Her words surprised everyone. Some laughed, others ignored her, believing she had no place in such matters. Still, with no other solution left, she was allowed to try. She worked slowly and carefully, using skills she had not shown in years. Her fingers moved with confidence, repairing the fabric in a way that made it look even better than before. When she stepped back, the room went silent. The damage was gone, and the work looked rare and special. The company leader noticed the fine detail. He recognized the method from his early career, something few people still knew. Curious, he asked her about it. For the first time, Sithembel spoke about her past. She shared how she once dreamed of creating beautiful clothing, but lost everything due to hardship and bad luck, forcing her into a life she never wanted. Later that day, the meeting was a success. The visitors praised the quality and style they saw. Afterward, something unexpected happened. In front of everyone, the company leader called Sithembel forward and changed her position publicly. The quiet maid who was once ignored was finally seen, and her life took a new direction that night. Minutes before an important meeting with powerful visitors from other countries, Mandla stood in his office getting ready. Everything had to look perfect because this meeting could decide the future of his company. As he adjusted his clothes, a sudden sound broke the silence. The fabric of his carefully made outfit tore in a clear and ugly way. The damage was impossible to hide, and his heart dropped instantly. Fear spread across the office. Assistants rushed toward him, shocked and confused. Phones were picked up, voices grew louder, and blame started flying from one person to another. Some suggested canceling the meeting, while others ran to find help that would never arrive on time. Every second felt heavy, and tension filled the room like smoke. Stylists tried quick fixes, but nothing worked. The tear only looked worse with every attempt. Mandla's anger grew as the clock moved closer to the meeting time. He hated disorder, and now everything felt out of control. His staff could see disappointment on his face, and no one dared to speak anymore. Standing quietly near the door was a woman most people never noticed. She had been cleaning the floor when the chaos started. With a calm voice, she said she could repair the damage. Her words surprised everyone. Some people laughed softly, others looked offended. A cleaner offering help in such a serious moment felt wrong to them. With no better choice left, Mandla allowed her to try. She stepped forward without fear. From her pocket, she took out a small tool she had kept for years. Her hands moved gently and with confidence. The room became silent as everyone watched her work. There was no rush in her movement, only focus and skill. After a short time, she stepped back. The tear was gone. The fabric looked smooth and strong, as if it had never been damaged. People stared in disbelief. Mandla moved closer and examined the work. He noticed something special about it, a rare style he had not seen since his early days in the fashion world. Curiosity replaced his anger. He asked how she learned such a method. The woman quietly shared that she once had dreams connected to clothing design before life pushed her down a different path. Her story stayed with him as he left for the meeting. Later, the meeting went better than expected. The visitors praised the fine quality they saw. That single repair did more than save a meeting. It opened a door, changed a life, and reminded everyone that talent can hide where no one thinks to look. Stylists tried everything they could, but nothing worked. Each attempt made the damage look worse. Hands shook as they pulled and pressed the fabric, hoping for a miracle that never came. Faces turned pale, and quiet fear filled the room. Assistants began blaming one another, voices rising with stress. One said help should have arrived earlier. Another said the problem was ignored too long. The pressure grew heavier with every passing second. The clock on the wall seemed louder than usual. Every tick reminded them that the important meeting was getting closer. Sweat appeared on foreheads, phones buzzed without answers, and the room felt smaller by the minute. Mandla stood still, watching everything fall apart. He hated disorder, and now chaos ruled his office. His sharp eyes showed anger, but beneath it was worry he did not want anyone to see. Some staff suggested quick tricks to hide the problem, but those ideas failed immediately. Others whispered about canceling the meeting, knowing how dangerous that choice could be. No one wanted to take responsibility. Fear controlled the room, and silence followed every loud argument. The air felt thick, and breathing became difficult. Near the doorway, a quiet worker watched everything. She had been wiping the floor moments earlier, invisible as always. She saw panic where others saw power. Unlike the rest, her hands did not shake. Her eyes stayed calm, studying the problem carefully. She remembered long nights from another life, moments when skill mattered more than status. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but clear. The room froze. People turned toward her in disbelief. Some looked confused, others annoyed. A few laughed under their breath. To them, she did not belong in this moment. She was supposed to stay silent, unnoticed, and far from important matters. But time was almost gone. With no solution left, Mandla allowed her to step forward. The noise faded as she approached. From her pocket, she pulled out something small she had carried for years. Her movements were slow, steady, and confident. There was no rush, only focus. As she worked, the room grew quiet. Arguments stopped. Phones were lowered. Everyone watched as her hands moved with purpose. What moments ago seemed impossible slowly disappeared. When she stepped back, the change was clear. The problem was gone. Shock replaced panic. Mandla looked closely, recognizing something rare in her work. In that moment, control returned to the room, but nothing would ever feel the same again. Sethemble spoke in a low and gentle voice, barely rising above the noise in the room. She said she might be able to help with the problem. Her words floated through the air and landed badly. Several people turned to look at her, surprised and confused. A few exchanged looks and smiled in a mocking way, as if they had heard a joke. To them, she was only a cleaner who should not be speaking at all. Some assistants waved their hands, telling her to step back. Others laughed quietly, shaking their heads. One person whispered that she did not know her place. The room filled with soft laughter and disbelief. No one believed she had anything useful to offer. They were dressed in fine clothes, holding important titles, while she stood there in simple workwear, holding a cleaning cloth. Sethemble did not argue. She did not raise her voice or defend herself. She simply stood still, her face calm, her eyes focused. Inside her mind were memories of another life, a time when her hands created beauty instead of cleaning messes. She remembered long nights of careful work, learning skills that once brought her pride. She never expected to use them again, especially not here. The laughter slowly faded as the clock kept moving. Panic returned to the room. Phones were silent. No help was coming. The problem remained unsolved. Manla watched everything closely. He saw the fear on his staff's faces and felt his control slipping away. His eyes returned to the quiet woman standing near the wall. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Manla gave a short nod. It was not trust, but it was permission. The room grew silent as Sethemble stepped forward. People watched her closely now, waiting for her to fail. Some crossed their arms, ready to say they were right all along. She reached into her pocket and took out a small tool she had kept for years. Her hands did not shake. Her breathing stayed slow. She began to work with care, her fingers moving in a smooth and confident way. The mockery turned into curiosity. Whispers stopped. Eyes widened. Minutes passed like hours. When she finally stepped back, the change was clear. The problem that caused so much fear was gone. The fabric looked strong and clean, as if nothing had ever happened. Silence filled the room, heavy and full of shock. The same people who laughed moments ago could not speak. Sethemble returned to her place quietly, but everything had changed. In that moment, being ignored no longer protected her. She had been seen. She stepped closer without fear, her movements slow and steady, as if noise and pressure no longer existed. From the small cloth she carried, she took out a thin metal tool worn by time. It was not fancy, yet it carried history. The room watched closely as she lowered herself slightly and focused on the damaged clothing. Her fingers moved with quiet confidence, guided by memory rather than thought. Each motion showed deep experience. She worked with care, pulling thread through fabric in a way that felt natural to her. There was no rush, no hesitation. The panic that once filled the room slowly faded. Breathing softened. Voices stopped. Even the ticking clock seemed to fade into the background as attention stayed fixed on her work. People who laughed earlier now leaned forward. Doubt slowly turned into curiosity. No one interrupted. No one dared. Her skill spoke louder than words. She adjusted the material gently, aligning every part with patience and precision. The tears slowly disappeared, hidden beneath careful detail that blended perfectly with the rest. Manla watched closely, his sharp eyes catching something unusual. This was not basic fixing. There was elegance in the method, a rare technique used only by skilled creators from years past. Recognition flashed across his face. He had seen this style once before long ago, during the early days of his journey. As she finished, she paused briefly, checking every angle. Then she stepped back. The damage was gone completely. No sign remained. The clothing looked strong, balanced, and refined. A soft gasp moved through the room. Shock replaced fear. No one spoke at first, unsure how to react. She quietly returned the tool to its place and stepped away, ready to disappear again. She did not smile. She did not seek praise. For her, the work itself was enough. But the moment had already changed everything. Manla stepped closer, studying the result carefully. His anger was gone, replaced by interest and respect. He looked at her differently now, not as background, but as someone with hidden value. The room felt different. Power had shifted without a word being spoken. That single act did more than fix a problem. It exposed truth. Talent does not always wear fine clothes. Skill does not always stand at the front. Sometimes it waits quietly, ignored, until the right moment arrives. As the meeting time approached, confidence returned. What seemed like disaster moments earlier now felt like fate. The visitors would never know what almost happened, but everyone in that room would remember this moment forever. Mandla looked closely at the repaired area and felt a strange pull in his chest. Something about the work caught his attention. It was not just fixed, it was crafted with care and deep knowledge. His eyes followed the fine details, and memories from long ago slowly returned. This was a technique he had not come across in many years, one taught only to serious creators who truly understood fabric and balance. For a moment, the busy office disappeared from his mind. He remembered his early days, when he was still learning, when masters showed him methods that took patience and respect. That same level of skill now stood quietly in front of him, hidden in plain sight. He straightened his posture and asked the woman how she learned to work like that. The room held its breath. Everyone waited. The cleaner who had just saved the moment hesitated, then spoke softly. She shared that before life became heavy, she once had a different path. There was a time when she worked with materials, learning patterns, practicing late into the night, dreaming of a future built by her own hands. Hard times came suddenly. Family troubles, loss, and lack of support forced her to accept any work she could find. As she spoke, Mandla listened without interrupting. This was not a story of excuses, but one of survival. The staff stood silent, realizing how wrong their laughter had been. The woman they ignored carried knowledge many of them did not have. The meeting time arrived, and Mandla walked in with calm confidence. The visitors noticed the quality of what he wore and praised the fine work. Their approval brought success, but Mandla's thoughts stayed with the quiet worker and her hidden past. After everything ended, he gathered the staff. In a clear voice, he spoke about skill, respect, and how easy it is to overlook true value. Then he called her forward. Gasps filled the room as he announced a new role for her, one that matched her ability, not her uniform. The woman lowered her head, overwhelmed. Tears filled her eyes, but she stood strong. Years of silence ended in that moment. What began as a small repair turned into a turning point. Mandla learned that leadership is not only about control, and everyone learned that greatness can exist where no one thinks to look. Sethembel took a deep breath and spoke quietly, her voice steady but soft. She told Mandla and the staff that long ago, she had a very different life. She had trained in designing clothes, learning to cut fabric, choose patterns, and stitch pieces together perfectly. She remembered the excitement of creating something beautiful from nothing, the pride she felt when people admired her work. Every seam she made was filled with care and thought, and she had dreamed of one day opening her own shop. But life did not stay kind. Hardship came suddenly. Her family faced troubles she could not fix, and money became scarce. Opportunities disappeared, and she had no choice but to leave her dream behind. Survival meant finding work that paid even a little, work that would keep a roof over her head and food on the table. She became a cleaner, sweeping floors, emptying bins, and wiping windows, while her skills and passion were hidden from everyone around her. The room was silent as she spoke. People who had laughed at her earlier now realized they had judged someone without knowing her story. Mandla's eyes softened. He had always respected skill, but he had never expected to find it in someone he had overlooked every day. He listened closely, noticing how her hands, calm and steady, still carried the experience of years spent creating beauty. She explained that even though her life had changed, she never forgot her craft. Every stitch she made, even in small repairs or mending torn fabric, carried the memory of what she once knew. She had kept her skills alive quietly, without anyone noticing, until now. Her voice held pride, but also humility. She had learned to survive without losing herself completely. Mandla's thoughts raced. He realized how often talent is hidden behind humble appearances. How many people might have walked past someone like her, never imagining the depth they carried. He understood that leadership is not just about power and rules. It is also about recognizing and nurturing hidden potential. Later, after the meeting ended successfully, Mandla called Sethembel forward. In front of everyone, he praised her skill and offered her a new role in the company that matched her talent, not her uniform. Her face shone with surprise and joy. Years of struggle and silence had finally met recognition. That single moment changed her life completely, proving that talent and perseverance can shine, even from the most unexpected places. Mandla stepped into the bright conference room with calm confidence, his outfit looking flawless. Every stitch was perfect, smooth, and strong. The damage that had caused so much panic earlier was completely gone, replaced by careful work that made the suit look even better than before. The visitors, a group of important investors from other countries, turned their heads immediately. They noticed the quality at once, their eyes lingering on the fine details and the elegance of the craftsmanship. Whispers passed between them, soft but full of admiration. They asked questions about the material and the finish, complimenting Mandla on the incredible attention to detail. To them, the clothing seemed like a masterpiece, something that reflected the company's dedication to quality and excellence. Mandla smiled slightly but said nothing. Inside he was proud, but the real satisfaction came from knowing who had created this work. The investors began the meeting with enthusiasm, discussing projects and plans with energy. Their praise for the outfit set a positive tone, and the conversation flowed smoothly. Every compliment reminded Mandla of the quiet woman who had saved the day. He thought about how easily she could have been overlooked, ignored, or dismissed, and yet her skill had now become the reason the meeting started so well. Staff who had been watching from behind the glass doors felt a mix of shock and curiosity. They realized that what seemed simple, a cleaner suggestion, had turned into a moment of brilliance. Mandla's calm presence combined with the perfect clothing had impressed everyone in the room, showing that talent can come from unexpected places. As the discussion continued, Mandla noticed the subtle smiles and nods of approval from the investors. They appreciated not only the company's products but also the attention to detail, which reflected strong leadership and careful planning. Every compliment reinforced the impact of what Sethembel had done. Without her, the meeting might have faltered, leaving a poor impression that could have been costly. When the session ended, Mandla left the room with a sense of quiet triumph. He knew the investors had seen more than just a suit. They had seen excellence and preparation. Later, he returned to the office and looked at Sethembel with new respect. Her quiet talent had changed the course of the day. That single act of skill had not only saved an important meeting, but had also proven that recognition and opportunity can come to those who are patient, skilled, and ready, even when no one expects it. In front of all staff, Mandla called Sethembel to stand beside him. The room fell silent, eyes turning toward the quiet woman who had been overlooked for so long. People who had ignored her work and laughed at her suggestion just hours before now stared in disbelief. Mandla's voice was clear and strong as he spoke about skill, dedication, and hidden talent. He explained how her careful work had saved the company from a disaster and impressed the investors, showing everyone that greatness can come from unexpected places. Sethembel's hands trembled slightly, but she held her head high. She never imagined she would be recognized like this, especially not in front of the people who had barely noticed her existence. Mandla praised her patience, focus, and talent, acknowledging the years of hidden effort she had put into perfecting her craft. The staff listened quietly, many feeling a mix of shame for their earlier mockery and awe at her abilities. He announced her new role, one that reflected her skills and potential, not her past title or humble uniform. The promotion was more than a job change. It was a chance to follow her true passion, to use her creativity and experience in ways she had only dreamed about. Gasps filled the room as the announcement sank in. Some employees whispered among themselves, amazed at the sudden shift of fortune. Sethembel's expression changed from shock to joy. Tears formed in her eyes, but she smiled, feeling a sense of pride she had not experienced in years. The recognition made her feel seen for the first time in her life, proving that hard work, skill, and resilience are never wasted, even when hidden in plain sight. Mandla continued, using her story as a lesson for the entire team. He reminded them that talent can be found in the most unlikely people, and that leaders must pay attention to those who quietly make a difference. The staff nodded, some inspired, others reflecting on their behavior earlier. The room felt different now, full of respect, humility, and a renewed sense of possibility. From that day forward, Sethembel's life changed completely. She no longer worked in the shadows. She had opportunity, respect, and a future shaped by her own hands and talent. The quiet maid who had once been invisible now had a voice, a purpose, and a place where she belonged. Her story became an example for everyone, True skill and dedication can shine, no matter where it is hidden, and recognition can come when least expected, transforming destiny forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more amazing African tales. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that will inspire and surprise you.